講咩好咧？I want to record this in English, and I found when I record something and I use the analysis, maybe it's interesting to talk about the Bibles, but slightly I just like to have discuss with something within English. So I'm not a native English speaker, so might use some words not properly, grammatically correctly. If you want to really correct some grammar, use the grammarly, and it will be help you to use the efficient English. And as I previously said about the sin of the people in the Bibles, as about irresponsibility. It's not just simply like that. When we talk about the sin, because the man is the fruit know the evil and the good. When people know the evil and the good, is that make people wiser? Yes, they are. We are. Our eyes bright, and we know what's the good things and what's the bad things. But can we properly handle this one? Before we didn't eat, according to the Bible, before man or women didn't eat any fruit, know the good or evil, good or bad. Actually, they see everything is very good, nice. Actually, men and women did not have any conflicts. But after they have eaten fruit, they just have a conflicts, and they hiding in the brush. Unless God made them clothes with leathers. They have make some clothes with the leaves, but turning out it's not good. So God gave them the clothes with the leathers. Especially is nice, and they will survive outside the Eden. The Garden of Eden is forbidden for the men and women, and they have sins, they have faced those things, and they have sons, and their sons are killing each other, and the first homicide happens. But I don't like to discuss these things. But when I talk about the Bibles, I would like to talk about the man, the King David. When we talk about the King David, we actually inherit from the traditional Orthodox or Catholic torch. He is a great man because he is the ancestor of Jesus Christ. So he is the man of holy. And then you see the statue of the David by the Michelangelo's in the palace of Paris. Oh, David, the beloved man by the God. But actually, if you read the Bible carefully, this man is an evil man. But seriously, first of all, he have his throne unlawfully. Even say is Samuel have made him the king of the Israel. But it's something that is not make him rightful to the throne, because there's only throne for the Israel is God himself. Why? You read the book of Judges. Israel, after they go through the land of the promise, they actually did not have the king, did not have the rulers as other tribes. They are distinct from the other tribes because they are the first tribe without the king. Because slaving each other is not the way God wants. But God made everyone is equal, and if they have conflict, they got a judge to tell them what's wrong, what's right. Actually, those systems made by Holy Moses and Joshua. But people just forget. they are begging for have a king. Then they have a first king is Saul. So the big man, the handsome man, the warriors of the Israels, and he have a son. The son is King David's best friend, and also the best friend tell the King David, you can marry his sisters, and then they become related. So after that, so actually the King Saul's son should be the next king, actually, according to the rules of other tribes or the kingship's inheritance. But the things doesn't work that way. First of all, we have learned the story about how the David as a boy to kill the Goliath, the big man Goliath. How he used to throw the stone to kill the Goliath things. Actually, he got a little bit lucky, and because he was undermined by the Goliath, and he just lucky. But after that, there's nothing happens. He's still a shepherd until the prophet Samuel came to see him, and then let him become the king. So, if he is the rightful king, and he will bring the promise to the Israel, but turning out he made a lot of mistake. This mistake actually by his sins. Everybody knows he had adultery because he married a woman who is a wife of his soldiers. But everybody forgive him. Because the man, sometimes you just catch by the eye, and everybody make the mistakes. But at that time, the prophet told King David, you just have other sheep, because when you see the house, actually the woman marry a man, he is the house of that man, but you broke other man's house. It's the same. This irresponsible thing happens. Remember why King David's doing things like that? Perform adultery because Moses have a law clearly said adultery should be thrown by the stone and death, but not happen to the King David because everybody beloved him. Why? Because Israel at the time they asked the God to have a kings, from the King Saul to the King David. Actually, they performing as other sinners on the earth, even though they are close related to the God. Seriously, don't envy Israel, because they are the worst of tribes follow gods, the worst kind of the man. Because they tell different tales, double standards. They are the first tribes use double standard towards other tribes and to their beloved one. King David, if he did perform adultery, he should be stoned to death, but they didn't. Secondly, when you know King David how to divorce his first wife, I said before, there was a King Saul's daughters. The daughters bring him the kingship, the support from the other tribes in the Israels. He just divorced her in the works. After he triumphed, success go into the Jerusalem, he danced. His wife said it's not proper way become a leaders. He said, you are not understand me, sir. You are not have a glory as a king, to be a queen. So I don't see you anymore. Is a proper divorce? Give the freedom of his wife? No. He married other men, other women. King David have a lot of spouse, or what we call as other king, other tribes king. He have a palace of women. With those tribes are hated because why I know that? Because King David have a son, so beautiful son, have a long beard, hair of bear. When King David go to the war, and his sons said, I'm going to be the king, and he go to after his father and try to kill his father, but turning out the warriors of the King David is turning back to pursue this son, and when he was escaped and he was killed by his bear. Read the Samuel, 2 Samuel. It's just hilarious. Why his son performed like that? Because when he taking his father's place, the first thing he do is have those women in the palace when King David have. So after that, King David performed adultery. Do you make any thing clearly about King David's behavior after he divorced, or say not seeing the king before him, so the lawful wife? So actually this man is not really irresponsible to the women, and turning out his son going to after him, and people worship him. Even though the Christian church, people are going to success because he is the ancestor of the Jesus Christ, and people just say we should worship him, but his crime, his sins about adultery is the first things happens, was hated by the God. When Israel goes to the land of Gaza, those tribes should be all killed. So in the last video I said Israel become corrupt as other tribes, so God just leave them there. When you learn this, King David was selected by the Samuel. Do you know what's going on here? Yes, Samuel is got a job to select the next king, but he just chooses some people can win the war, but did not choose somebody can win the scene. The original things God want man to dealing with, because King David is not the worst man, because there was lot in the Genesis, there was brother stolen out his elder brother's name, the place, Jacob. But people praise the Jacobs. Abraham got a son. After the son's son is Jacob's, and things just not right. You see the King David. So after the King David, you see the kings, all the kings in Israel just corrupted. Even though they do worship as they used to after the greatest judge, Abraham or Moses. They won't have the glory as they had before because they forget one simple thing. In the beginning, in the judge, they are different from other tribes because they have the God in their throne, not the man. But they forgot that. Even though they built a lot of beautiful synagogues, Jesus said it will be gone anyway. Because they believe the things made by man, not the things made by the God. But what's the area? What's the palace? What's it called? You can read the Bible, you can find it out yourself. But when we doing this study, I just speak more like Chinese because I'm flunked. It just feel tired, even though the English speaking people, if you're a Christian for the English, they are those feel tired about this. They just go through any other things, creations, superiorities. They see the gossip about the Mary with the God. And then you see there was a famous story about there was a blood inheritance of the Jesus Christ. Actually, they got the ancestor of the Jesus, and then they have a blood to heal the death, things. Supernatural people. Actually, belief in the Christianity is just a man-made. A lot of things going to be man-made, but they forgot the most important things. When they forgot there was the sin, God wants people to become worship Him or understand what's going on with the man and God. They just forget most of the things, even though they have a lot of scriptures, books about that, records, but people just get into the sin easily and then worship those sinners. If you learn those sinners' story, you should avoid to do the same thing as they did. But no, people just see the success. They believe what is success, but actually they are losing. Because King David is turning out, he don't have a wife for his life. He is worried about his life, killed by his son. Even though he got a son, so smart son is Solomon, but it didn't bring any peace. And as he is smart man and he knows what's coming out of Israel, his throne, his dynasty won't last long. Turning out is, and Israel is so also reliable. At least the other tribes people are keep their words, but Israel people didn't keep their words because they use the language is so by meanings and some parables, and they think they were smart and they trick people with their lines, and people just envy them. Also, they knew how to make people envy and slave those people out, but it won't good. And I like to speak English, Cantonese, not Chinese, if you mind Mandarins. 即係如果有今日任何人仲係以聖經嘅故事或者係認識聖經，覺得自己係一個高貴、講道理、有開化嘅人，我覺得讀多啲聖經就知道，其實聖經只不過係一個故仔，或者係個小説，當中好多道理其實用唔同嘅地方、唔同嘅人都有唔同嘅得着，但係問題係佢創造咗個上帝啦，創造人類。其實上帝是否創造人類呢？如何創造呢？呢樣嘢係上帝冇聖經冇寫，我哋就靠估嘅啫。第一件事，跟住 雖然可能呢個啲真係以色列嘅歷史，但係嗰啲所謂神同人嘅溝通都係啲所謂先知所寫嘅。先知寫嘢嗰陣時，有啲價值觀係佢哋自己希望嘅，所以喺撒母耳膏立大衛王嘅時候，其實係咪真係神所揀選嘅呢？唔好諗太多啦。神冇話揀選 King David 嘅，係撒母耳話揀 King David 嘅。Samuel chose David become a king, not God. There's no word like when Jesus Christ was baptized. There was a word, there's a dove, there's a sign for his baptism. But there's nothing happens to when Samuel said David is become the king, because people believe. So did Samuel do something in his own agenda to make sure he is the superior in the religions of Israel at the time he's living? After he made David become a king, Samuel have a book of Samuel 1st, Samuel 2nd. He got a history to remember him. But did he ever speak some for the God like Moses? Or other prophets at his time? Don't choose the word saying every prophet have different duties. No. Prophets is speaker of the God. When King David had adultery, there was other prophets to tell King David, you are wrong. When King Saul doing something wrong, did Samuel speak to him that you are wrong? No, he just gave him his punishment, removed him from the crown. So, is Samuel more like a higher king? Or remember, there was a politician at the time that we don't know in the ancient times, but when you study those in the stories, you see how the tricky things, but you envy those tricky things, or you go or wish those tricky things, and then put those things in the Sunday school and teach everybody. Learn from the King David, and he was a smarter kid. When he is a kid, he killed a big man Goliath, and then it is success, it is bravery. And you have a son of the King David killed the Goliath. Actually, Goliath is a very honorable warrior. He gave chance King and the small David to give him the first shot. Okay, Goliath didn't take his weapons and let small David have his first shot. But King David learned his first shot to shoot on the target on his nipples and kill him. It's just a mistake for the warriors, but you should learn from that. It just happened on the warfare. Some people just careless and then undermine other people's, but turning out people have a stunt and have a trick to win. But everyone got a trick to win. David took his opportunity to win it and used this as his name, and later on become the king. And most people didn't know King is the best musician and the poet, making poets. We got a whole book of Psalms by King David, because he is good standing speakers. People like to listen something beautiful, and he can provide that, and he become a king. Did he really fight the fight for the Israel? No, he's warriors, but turning out he's his warrior's wife. It's a bad thing about him. And he was chased by his son, and then luckily his son was died. And after the latest day, people choose a woman for him become his wife, but he never touched that woman because he is afraid of the women. Why at a later year King David is afraid touching women? He learned from his sin, because when he was younger, he was not just adultery. I use the word promiscuous. Like you see, there was a lot of men in the day today, famous, success, and have a lot of women. People are not going to discuss this one. When you success, you are famous, and you should have a lot of women, like the king of everywhere. But it's not the God's war. When Moses success, he got one wife. Moses is actually a standoff man. What should he? But Moses, when you become a Moses, you see his life is changing. But he's pursuing the rightful thing for his tribe, Israel. And also God made him the leaders of the Israel, the judge of Israel. And 10 Commandments from him. Whatever it is, he bring the proper standard for Israel, or Esau, even though it's not for the mankind. But no one like to discuss Moses, because people like to discuss King David because they think about other things. That's for this sessions, and next session I really don't know, and I don't know why it's going to use the English to talk about these sessions. I rather use Cantonese because it's going to be more fluent and it will be shorter, but maybe it got some meanings about it. Next, I will discuss about why I leave the Christian church, because I think it's most important for everybody to know the Christianity, Protestant, Catholics, Orthodox, or whatever other beliefs or minds, philosophies, great speakers actually is a bullshit. Why? Nobody hold the truth, because each of us, even there was trillions of peoples on the earth, or we have more than a trillion peoples on the earth, every one of us is a piece of truth. So you can be anything, but you are the truth of the world, and you make this world happens. And if our efforts go together, actually we can change the world, we can rule the galaxy. But turning out we are not that smart to know our ability, also know our weakness, because we always live in the what we call, you can say, is some traditional is habits, because mankind is something. We are smart, but our life is vulnerable, our body is vulnerable, but our mind is very useful and creative. If you have know why we have no power of a record, our technology, and the different cultures, Actually, we are very powerful, and we will be God, as we imagine, but turning out we don't know. So we end up here.